Story time about how my ex caught me cheating on him.
My ex was the biggest player in my college. All the girls knew him and everyone warned me not to hang out with him. Of course I didn't listen. He asked me to be his girlfriend and I said yes, of course. We had been going out for a few months, but every time he would go to a frat party, I would hear from someone else that he had been cheating on me or that he was trying to hook up with other girls. And I would ask him about it. He would absolutely deny it and say that people were just trying to separate us because they were envious of our relationship. I believed him a little bit, but something told me I shouldn't. So of course I decided to check his messages, and guess what? I found a bunch of messages between him and girls that he went to class with. I confronted him and he denied everything. He said those were not his messages and that I was probably making things up. He deleted the messages before I could take screenshots. It was around the time of my birthday and I was planning a party, and I told him he couldn't come to my party because I was upset at him. I made sure to invite a friend of his to my party who I knew had a crush on me. So his friend and I got really cozy at my party. We started hanging out every single day after comeback from part 2. So my cheating boyfriend didn't show up to my birthday party. Instead, I invited one of his friends who I knew had a crush on me. Let's call him Bob. Well, Bob and I started hanging out all the time. Behind my boyfriend's back, of course. My boyfriend and I would hang out less and less. Well, Bob started catching feelings and he asked me to break up with my boyfriend and to basically come clean to him, and I said no. I had no intention of leaving my boyfriend. I just wanted to get revenge. And honestly, it felt really good to do that. Bob got really upset because I didn't want to break up with my boyfriend, and he went off. I started hearing rumors around the school about me hooking up with Bob. My boyfriend asked me about it, and I said, I don't know where that's coming from. I haven't hooked up with anyone. My boyfriend didn't believe me. My boyfriend went to a party that night and he didn't invite me, which, of course, you know what that means. I asked Bob if we could hang out, so I went over to his place. We're on his couch kissing, and my boyfriend comes in through the door. Part 3. So while I'm hooking up with Bob on his couch, my boyfriend walks in through the door. Bob got up from the couch and went and stood next to my boyfriend. And my boyfriend just begins to say, I knew that you were cheating on me. You see, I knew it. Rumors were true. And I said, well, you've been cheating on me for months since we started dating. Then Bob pipes up and says, look, I'm sorry I did this to you, but it had to be done. I slowly started to realize that I had been set up by both of them. I went back to my dorm and I didn't speak to them for a few days. My boyfriend was calling and begging me to get back with him. He said he would forgive me for the cheating if I forgave him for cheating on me. But Bob was also messaging me asking me to be his girlfriend. He said he'd never cheat on me like my boyfriend did and that he really had feelings for me. Well, I didn't get back with my boyfriend, but we're hooking up. And I'm still hooking up with Bob too, but I made a promise that he wouldn't tell my ex. I did find out that my ex cheated on me with 15 girls, and that's on toxic. Story time of when I got sexually assaulted at the strip club I worked at. Now, I have many story times because I worked as a cocktail waitress, model, and actress in Los Angeles for a long time. So I have many stories of people who decided to try to take advantage of me. So I want to share them with you guys. In my last story time, so many people started opening up in the comments about their own experiences. So here we go. In 2011, I got hired as a cocktail waitress at this strip club called Deja Vu. I lived in Valley Village and the strip club was in the Valley. So it was about a mile away from me. It was the perfect situation. I loved it. It was a fun environment. I got along with everyone. But 2 months in, there was always this man that used to come in with his friends, and he had a dedicated cocktail waitress, so I never got the chance to serve him. But one day she showed up late, so I decided to go serve him myself. And when I went to his table, he was nice, didn't say much, but everyone knew of this guy as a really powerful rich guy. Right away, he gave me $100 and told me to sit down next to him. So I did. I sat down, I took their order, and then So he asked me my name, I tell him, and then he tells me to go get the drinks. But before I leave, he gives me another $100. So at this point, he's given me $200. And I didn't realize that what he was trying to do was groom me. He was preparing me for what was to come. In other words, he had paid me, now he could do whatever he wanted. So I go get the drinks, I come back to the table, and he asked me to sit again. By the way, his friends are still at the table, right there in front of us. And I sit down, he starts asking me a bunch of questions. I feel uncomfortable, so I start getting up to leave. And then he grabs me by the shoulders and sticks his tongue down my throat. And if that wasn't disgusting enough, he grabs my you-know-what down there and starts fondling me. If you've never been handled like this, you guys, it's a extremely shocking experience to be handled like that. Like, for a second, you're just like, what's happening? What do I do? All I could do was push him away. And once I got free of his hold, he looks at me in shock and says, what are you doing? I paid you. So I literally ran away from the table. I can hear his friends laughing, cackling at me like this was such an entertaining part of their night. And the guy was just yelling at me, asking me to come back to him. I didn't. I ran away. My knees were buckling. I was sweating. And I ran straight to the security guard who usually had my back. I told him what happened, and he's like, hey, look, we can't tell this guy to leave because the club is scared of him because he's a drug runner. He's a well-known drug runner. So I ran over to the back room. I happened to come across the server who usually serves him, and I tell her what happened, and she was just like, oh, don't worry, he's just like that, and he usually gives me $2,000 a night. You should have stayed. I was in shock, like complete shock. I went home. I cried for frickin' days. I didn't go back to the club, and when I finally did, 2 weeks later, I met my abusive ex.